When we talk about trauma and talk about childhood trauma and things that we've been through, and yeah, let's talk about that, okay? I really want you to know that it's okay to feel the way that you do, and no matter how little or big your traumatic experience was while you were growing up, that there is no right or wrong way to feel about it. I remember listening to a podcast, I think it was by Brene Brown, and something that she spoke about was that it's not necessarily the trauma itself that defines the experience that we have. It's the emotions that we're left with. That's what defines, and that's what I guess really sits with us, is the emotions that are left. And I feel that it's really important to share that we're not all going to have the same response to the same things. So you could go through the same thing that I've been through, and it could affect you completely differently to how it has affected me. And over the years, I always remember that when I would share part of my trauma, or when I would share, like, especially when it came to my sexual abuse and being abused when I was, I think I was about 7 or 8. Well, I was actually abused when I was quite a bit younger by a babysitter, but that I don't really remember that. But the memory that does really stick with me when I was around about 7, that I remember when I actually first started opening up and first started talking about it, that I always felt that I didn't have it that bad. I wasn't, the experience wasn't that bad. Like, it was just, it was more of, I don't feel like I need to go into that because I don't want to trigger anyone into it, into my personal story and my situation. But I was never actually raped, okay? But in saying that, there was still a level of abuse by an adult that I trusted. And because of that, growing up, I always felt that, well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. There's so many other people out there who had it so much worse. But it left something with me. And for years and years and years, there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt that was attached to that. And a lot of that I had felt like I had done something wrong, especially when I told another trusted adult, and I was told to keep it quiet, to not say anything, that they would handle it, that they would deal with it. So there was a lot of that shame and guilt that was attached to it. So yeah, my experience, it still sits with me. I have done so much work on that element of things, but it's really important to understand that when it comes to trauma, when it comes to abuse, when it comes to anything along those lines, that it's what it leaves you with. It's not the actual act. Obviously, the act has something to do with it, but it doesn't define you. Okay? And I feel like that's really, really important to share. And as I'm diving in, to this journey of healing and self-discovery and really working and empowering other women to do the same, it's really interesting because I find that I attract a lot of women who have struggled with abuse, or have struggled with narcissists in their life, or have struggled with some form of that feeling unloved or feeling unworthy, or that inner child just doesn't feel safe. And that's a lot of the women that I attract, and it's because I know that story. I can see that story, I can feel that story, and I know that even though the actual experience wasn't the same, that what it was left with was was something that I can understand and that I can relate to. And as a healer, really powerful that when we actually do our own work and when we allow ourselves to go to those places and work on that shadow part of who we are and really connect in to those emotions and allowing ourselves the permission to release them and allowing ourselves permission to claim back our power that has been lost in those moments, that's where the healing happens. And one thing that I love about what I do is that I get the opportunity to empower other women to do the same. And knowing that they don't have to actually go back and relive those experiences and talk them to death and to re-traumatize themselves by reliving it all the time, that they actually have permission to work with me in a way that they feel safe, that they know that they don't have to go back and relive these experiences, and that they have the ability, that we have the ability to work together. And I can actually go and I can communicate with spirit and I can say, show me what was left behind in those moments. Understanding how that's actually impacting our adult life and actually claiming that part of our soul back and bringing that back into who we are now. And I feel like it's really important to say that no matter what your trauma is, whether it was growing up with an abusive parent, whether it was physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, or whether it was simply that you feel that you had a really good childhood, but you didn't always feel seen or feel heard, that is also trauma. So it's really important to understand that trauma can be little, it can be little things, but also have a massive ripple effect, or they can be really big things. And no matter what your experience is, because even if it was something little, that doesn't mean that your experience is less than someone who has experienced something big. I really felt called to come on here and to share that. And it's really interesting because as I'm getting to know my birth dad and my siblings who I've just come into contact with, I'm finding myself sharing some of my childhood stories. And it's really interesting, even though I have done so much work on these parts of myself, how even still sometimes talking about the traumas and talking about the reactions that other people would have and sharing just who I am and what makes me me, and sharing some of the not so great parts of my upbringing along with the great parts of my upbringing, it really sheds light on the fact that there are so many layers to this work. And as a healer and someone who is here to create change and shift and to empower other women to do the work, it's so important that I do my own work as well. So I really felt called to share this very vulnerable message with you in knowing that you're not alone on your journey, that no matter what your story is, that you have permission, that you have the ability to share it in the way that you feel it needs to be shared, that you have the freedom to release yourself from that pattern, that you are here to break those generational curses, that you are here to break those generational patterns of not feeling like you're enough, of dealing with the trauma of not feeling seen or heard. And it is a lot of work, in the fact that when you feel like you're the only one really doing it in your family and that you're breaking all of these barriers down, that it can feel like a lot. But I really want you to know that you are seen. I see you. I feel you. And I want you to know that however you are doing your healing journey and however you are connecting in with your internal world and with working through those childhood patternings, and I like to call it I'm reparenting myself and ensuring that I am safe and knowing that I am safe, that you are doing an amazing job and you are doing enough. And keep going. Keep going. Because you are creating the change that is needed, not just for yourself, but for future generations. And you're also giving other women that permission that they can do it too. And that their story can be heard in their own unique way. Keep fighting, keep doing the work, keep showing up, and remember that it's okay to reach out and to ask for help, and it's okay to have a support system, and it's okay to try something new as well, and to allow yourself to be empowered through that. So thank you for allowing me to share. And if you would like to connect more, please reach out. I'm always up for a chat. I am about connection and communication and really allowing you to honor and to honor your voice and to be seen and to be heard, because you deserve to be seen and you deserve to be heard, because you are fucking amazing. Go get it.